Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Boston. This is a place where souls are nurtured and people's lives are transformed through the living and practicing the science of mind philosophy founded by Dr. Ernest Holmes. My name is Reverend Ed Tansey, and I am privileged to be here today as your spiritual leader, along with Reverend George Stewart, who likes to be called Rev G. And I welcome all here in the sanctuary this morning, along with all of the viewers at home who are seeing this live stream. We are located on 50 Dudley Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I'd like to thank all of the people who financially support this live stream ministry. And if you have not done so as of yet and you would like to, you can go to our website, cslboston.org, and click on the donate button, which is at the bottom left of the homepage. We ask you to open your hearts along with your wallets and begin the donating process. And we so appreciate all of the loving gifts we get from our live stream viewers. Thank you very much. So, the 2017 theme of Centers for Spiritual Living is values-based living. And November's theme is financial health and prosperity. So that's what we'll be talking about all through the month of November, really throughout all of the CSLs who follow this program. And today's talk is how to reverse financial adversity. How to reverse financial adversity. Now, how many people here today in this sanctuary, when you hear the word finances or anything to do with finances, your hair starts, well, the hair that some of us have, the hair starts rising up, your palms get sweaty, you get concerned, you get worried, or you just get plain uncomfortable having anything to do with finances. Now, does any of this look familiar to any of you? Oh, my goodness. Finances. Really? Oh, my checkbook. Oh, my goodness. Does any of this look familiar to any of you? Any of you? Well, I'll tell you, that looked like me some times ago before SOM. So here's what I say. If the shoe fits, etc., 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 then this morning I feel that my task is to give everyone a tune-up who might be experiencing what I've just mentioned or what you see on that slide. So what do you think? Do some of us maybe need a tune-up? Yes. I know I did. and I'm speaking, really from personal experience, that I feel there are three things that I'd like to point out that really do help reverse financial adversity. Okay? One is stewardship. The second one is sacred circulation, tithing. And the third one is faith. Okay? Stewardship, sacred circulation, tithing, and faith. Now, before I get into these 3 points, I really want to share with you my feelings, some of my feelings about this philosophy. We are so blessed to be religious scientists and people who live and who are rooted in this philosophy. Because, this philosophy is so rich. And through the richness of all of our teaching and classes and its application, we value the principle of abundance and its expression. Now, its expression of prosperity really means it's a means to provide all of us with resources to empower our personal, and our collective vision. Does that make sense? Okay. So the principle of abundance is core concept number 6. And I'd like to read you what was written about core concept number 6 in the 2012 Professional Practitioner Studies Year 1 Student Workbook. Gave credit to it. So here's what it says. This is a universe of infinite abundance, spiritual, mental, and physical. This bounty of spirit, this allness of good, is limitless and can never be exhausted or depleted. This infinite bounty of spirit is the birthright of each human. I am a child of God, so if I'm a child of God, you are also children of God, and you are all created as finite expressions of God. Thus, each of us are heirs to all of the good there is simply because of who we are. Bottom line, because of who we are heir to the richness of that divine flow of good. So this boundless supply of good is everyone's inheritance now and through all eternity. But here's one of the keys. We can only experience any form of it only to the degree that which we believe it is ours, accept it, claim it, and embody it. And how does this good show up in our lives? Can anyone tell me, like, a word? How does it show up? There are many words. How does it show up in our life?
As peace.
As peace. One more. Power. All right? I agree. Here's something else it shows up as. We can experience the infinite abundance in our lives as love, as money, as health, as talent, as fulfillment, or really any other form of the earthly riches that our minds can conceive. That our minds can conceive. So I know that the important key here is that the kind of abundance and the amount of it that we have is the kind and amount that we can conceive and embody. Simple. That we can conceive and embody. Now, anyone who took our new member orientation, this was one of the slides. I thought it was so good I wanted to throw it in the talk here. Abundance. All that anyone will ever need or desire is already provided by universal abundance. This applies to everybody. Every person is heir to the richness of creation without regard to merit. That is very important to remember. Without regard to merit. So I really, when I see this, and when I know that I'm an heir to the divine, wow, we're all heirs. It's like we've been mentioned in a will. Yes, it's the will of God. We are abundant. We are abundant because it's our birthright. And we inherit all that good, the good of the divine. So core concept 6 is principle number 6. And what do we know about principles? Principles are the truth. Principles never change. Principles are changeless. Principles are constant. Principles are reliable. That's our philosophy. So here's a quote from Ernest Holmes from the Science of Mind text that I feel fits here. In our ignorance of the truth, we have misused the highest power we possess. And so great it is, this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so absolute the domain of law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us the very conditions from which we suffer. Ooh. Good old Ernest Holmes puts it right to us. So the misuse of this principle brings about lack. And that is what we will experience in our life when we misuse this principle. And this lack shows up in different areas. See, in love, isn't that great? In money, in health, and in talent. So, another quote from this thing called you. When a problem confronts you, take it into the silence of your consciousness. Instead of thinking of the problem, think of the answer. God does not have problems. Therefore, the divine mind is the answer to every human problem. Principles never have problems. Problems are solved by bringing them under the control of principles. The problem is dissolved as the principle flows through it to the correct answer. And that was from this thing called you. So you see, any problem, any difficulty, any concerns or doubts are dissolved when the principles are applied, when we align ourselves with the truth, which is changeless. So now earlier, I did mention the three things that help to reverse financial adversity. So the first thing I want to talk about is stewardship. Now, managing of the prosperity and good that we already have and acting as if we are prosperous and believing in our prosperity is stewardship. Believing in our prosperity. But there's an alert here. What was that thing? R2D2. Alert, alert, or something. I would turn around and go, alert, alert. What is that? Anybody know? Help me. Danger. So to that I will say about your prosperity and stewardship. This doesn't give us license to spend money we don't have. Doing this is not being a good steward. Okay? So, here's a story. A friend of mine wanted a real new hot sports car, but he didn't know how he was going to pay for it. So, he called all excited and ecstatic one day and said, "Oh, wow! I received a credit card offer that had a long period of no interest." And he claimed that it was God providing him with prosperity. No. It's not God providing him with prosperity. This is the bank providing him more debt. Keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. So the last thing I want to say about stewardship is that it's the orderly balance. It really is the orderly balance use of what we currently have in terms of our spending. It's taking care of what we've already received. Okay? Now the second one, sacred circulation or tithing. This is the most powerful way to change financial adversity. I invite you to tithe, make an act of faith, and when you do this, this becomes a claim on the universe. I invite you that when you give, believe you have already received, and guess what? You will receive. Tithing to where you are spiritually fed is the most powerful act of faith there is, especially because it makes us uncomfortable. Like questions like, and I laugh because I remember when I really got into the mode for me of tithing my 10%, man, I was shaking at the beginning and saying, whoa, because I wasn't embodying the law, the truth. But when I did, so many wonderful things just came to me. It's like, I've always had enough. I've always had enough. But questions could arise when you're really not kind of into it. How will I survive? And I know none of you have ever had that in your mind. Or how will I pay my bills? How can I put food on the table? Now, how to those 2 or 3 questions? Plain and simple. By having faith in the abundance of the universe and using that law of circulation to move us out of adversity. Apply the principles. That's why both Rev G and myself, when we see people really grasping that, the first thing we're so happy for and grateful is that we know that that person who is really following the tithing the way it's most beneficial they're going to experience that magnificence of life. They really are. And then, of course, the center benefits. If you're spiritually fed here, then you will tithe here. So it's like a win-win situation. But the main thing, each and every one who does this benefits so greatly. And I'm not saying you give to receive, but it's the law. It's the law. That's how it is. Here's another story. I heard of this interim minister. That's a minister who goes to a center before they get their senior minister or whatever. And she was an interim minister at 2 different times in 2 different centers. Each one of these communities was down to about 20 people. One was in debt for $30,000. The other community was in debt for $50,000. So the board asked the minister, "What are you going to do?" Her response was, quote, "We are going to start tithing immediately." You see, each community held back their tithes as a bill for 5 to 6 months. They were not tithing. So what they did is erased it from their liabilities. Because you cannot owe on a tithe. You either pay it or you don't. Then every Monday, the Sunday Sacred Circulation was counted, and 10% immediately was sent to home office. They counted the take, 10% went right to Golden, Colorado, the home office. All right? So the board was very scared at this, doing all of this, and they still, even though they were worried and their faith was waning a little, they still were willing to put our principles into practice. They were willing to apply the principles. So, you see, this minister understood and knew how to use the law. She really did. She was not scared. She had no worries. And she had no doubt that this was going to raise these 2 communities at the different times where she was involved in them. So in each community, after about 6 months, they paid off all of their debts and were running in the black. So the 2 boards asked the minister, "Well, how did this happen?" Come on, hello. Where have you been? How has it happened? It's by using the law and acting on faith. Each community, though, they didn't spend money on other things until they were out of debt. But it brought them out of debt. Imagine that. What was it, 30? I said 30,000 and then 50,000. Hello? That's a good record, I think. Wouldn't you agree? Hello? Okay. So, remember, tithing is different than spending. Think about that. Take that home with you. Think about that. Now, the 3rd step, faith. I'm talking faith in the abundance in the universe. I'm in relation to this talk. I'm talking about core concept 6. And you know, it would really benefit all of us to stop our doubt and fear and retelling about our adversity, and instead cling to our spiritual truths and apply the principles. And at times when you need a little support, you know, when you're kind of going, ooh, you're feeling a little uneasy, that's when you use your ministers, your spiritual community. You talk to people in the community. Support each other. Help each other. That's a reason also that we so enjoy when spiritual community gets together, because we see it just as you show up. Okay? So, keep in mind that the universe is abundant. Keep that in mind. And we deserve that abundance. We deserve it because of who and whose we are. I invite you to walk and talk and live in that kind of faith, no matter how long it takes. Patience. I have that on my wall at home for me. Patience. So, okay. You know, in doing so, you are just simply inviting the universal abundance to enter or to re-emerge into your life in so many whole new different ways. So in summary, spending money you don't have doesn't mean you're abundant. It is by knowing and aligning yourself with the truth of the universal flow by acts of faith, and by joining into sacred circulation through tithing, even during adversity, that one experiences the miracle. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins has said, there is good and I ought to have it. Let's all say that, please. There is good and I ought to have it. And so it is.
And so it is.
And now, before the affirmation, we're going to do the spiritual mind treatment and then do the affirmation. So, I invite you to close your eyes. Take some deep and gentle breaths into that hot sanctuary, into that place of peace and calm and quiet. And just breathe in all the abundance of God and exhale all the abundance of yourself. And just be for a moment in that. And the purpose of this treatment this morning is that as each person opens their heart, lives from truth, and embodies the divine flow, all the magnificence and richness of God manifest in their lives. That is the purpose of my treatment this morning. So coming from that purpose, I know that there's that one infinite intelligence, that one creative power, the giver of all, the doer of all, the all and all. There is no place that this vibration is not. It is in, through, and as everything. There is only good and good alone. And the nature of this vibration that I happen to call God is abundance and prosperity, is love, is faith, is joy, is harmony, is creativity, is compassion, is knowing. That is the essence of God. And I am one. I am one with this essence because I am made in the image and likeness of the divine. And as that is my truth, I know wholeheartedly that that is the truth of each one in this congregation, each one in the cosmos, all throughout humankind, known and unknown. Each one is one and made in the image and likeness of God. And this creates an inseparableness, a unity. And from this unity comes the foundation of love, the foundation of compassion. And I now speak the word for all here today, and all who, wherever they may be, I speak the word for all today. That as each one aligns themselves to the truth of their being, and as each one embodies that divine flow of good and accepts it and conceives it in their mind, I know that the magnificence that is life itself, given from the divine to all, is experienced by all. And I see people just uplifting and being uplifted for themselves, for their families, for their spiritual communities, for the world at large. And as this upliftment continues, the vibration, the frequency that people vibrate at is higher, is more receptive, is more embodying of the good of the divine. That flow is theirs, and it manifests in magnificent ways for each and every one. I am so grateful that I know this truth. I walk in thanksgiving, knowing that I know what I know, that I know about everyone. I am grateful. And I release this prayer into the law of cause and effect, the law of infinitesimal possibilities, knowing that once released, the word never comes back void, because in the mind of God it is done. Therefore, in the mind of each, it is done to the perfect completion, this or something better, this or something more, because each one is perfect, whole, and complete. Please join me in saying, and so it is. Let's do our affirmation. After we breathe for a moment. Okay. Our affirmation. Let's say it together. I accept my abundance and expect my prosperity. I have order in my finances. I joyously tithe and claim my miracle. Once more. I accept my abundance and expect my prosperity. I have order in my finances. I joyously tithe and claim my miracle. By Reverend Dr. Petra Wells. She's the senior minister at CSL Dallas. And so it is. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So now is the time for our special day, which is our membership celebration. And this morning we have 3 of our 4 new members who are going to be installed. So I just want to welcome us to be in this presence of love and light as we move forward in this. So one of the most satisfying human experiences is to become awake and aware of one's own self-unfoldment. This opens the possibility for more of the divine potential that is already within us to be expressed through us. Choosing to commit to membership in this spiritual community, we unify ourselves with love, vision, and high purpose that is the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. There is not the center and its members. There is only the center as its members. The body of our center community is made up of individuals who are its hands, its feet, and its heart. Within the body of the center moves the spirit of the center. In choosing membership today, you have consciously and intentionally made yourselves vital to the whole, and you are an integral part in the life of this spiritual community and this teaching. Every one of us is an individualized expression of the presence of God. Is that not correct?
Yes.
With each other and in our unified awareness, we share our experiences of the divine, who we are, and what we say and do within the context of this spiritual journey together serves to inspire and empower one another in realizing and expressing our divine potential together. As participants in this spiritual journey, we have opportunities to become increasingly aware of the power and presence of love that indwells us all, and to live and act from that awareness. As members, you have made a commitment to your spiritual path and to share it with others. There are those among us who, at this time in their spiritual journey, have signified their desire to be members of this spiritual community. They have chosen to participate, support, and align themselves with the vision and purpose of Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston by joining as members. I now invite the acting leadership co-chair of the Leadership Council to welcome you to membership.
Today, you are choosing to unify with each other and with the congregation of Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. In doing so, you also unify with all member centers for spiritual living throughout the world in a warm and loving fellowship of divine spirit. As you enter into membership in thought, word, purpose, and action, you are making a public declaration of your belief in the principles of the science of mind and this center. This is an outward expression of an inward commitment to yourself, to this teaching, the spiritual community, and all of humanity. As you practice these principles in your life, you are participating in the transformation of consciousness and living the vision of Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, which is, and I'll read the vision again and mission because that's very important today, as always, but especially when we install new members. The vision. The Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston is a warm, safe, diverse, open, and inviting community. Through the teaching and living the principles of the science of mind philosophy, we draw together as one, unfolding and expanding in consciousness with ease, with joy, humor, and infinite love. And our mission is the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston is a gathering place where heightened consciousness, expanded knowledge, and personal enlightenment are revealed through guiding, inspiring, and teaching the principles and practices of the science of mind philosophy. And as you join in membership, the experience of each is deepened and expanded into greater good. For as you enter into a life of service to humankind, to life itself, and to God, you consciously become one with the very spirit of the divine presence. The obligation placed upon you is the obligation you place upon yourself in the fulfillment of our shared vision and mission. Your commitment is in your own heart and mind. I trust that each of you is confident in your heartfelt commitment. On behalf of our Leadership Council and the congregation of the Centers for Spiritual Living, I lovingly welcome each of you into membership.
This commitment to membership welcomes you as members of the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. I ask all of you who are regular members, attendees, first-time guests, friends, and family to serve as witness to this sacred and heartfelt commitment by these new members. So if I may have, if you just stand for me, if I can have Mary Trombley, please stand. And Martine Bernard, if you would please stand. And Dr. Travis Linden, if you would please stand. These are our new members. And so I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, and this is a part of the covenant that you accept as membership. As a member, I commit to my sacred study to grow in spiritual awareness.
I commit to my sacred study to grow in spiritual awareness.
I commit to giving my time and talent
I commit to giving my time and talent
in sacred service
in sacred service
to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston.
to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston.
I commit to sacred circulation of my treasure
I commit to sacred circulation of my treasure
to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston.
to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston.
I commit to my practice of the science of mind,
I commit to my practice of the science of mind,
principles in my daily life.
the principles in my daily life.
I commit to seeing the divinity in all of life.
I commit to seeing the divinity in all life.
I commit to my spiritual practice
I commit to my spiritual practice
so that I may show up as my highest self.
so I may show up as my highest self.
I commit to expressing my spiritual magnificence
I commit to expressing my spiritual magnificence
to my community and the world.
to my community and the world.
Thank you. You can remain standing, actually.
Yes, short term. Give me a moment. Okay. So please come forward. Martine, we have a white rose for you. And maybe you can kind of make a little line here. Dr. Travis. Stay right up here. And Mary. All right. So, let me explain about the white rose. This white rose stands for three things: spirituality, marriage, and new beginnings. As each new member deepens their spiritual path by joining Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, they have committed to the membership covenant. Like a marriage, and like all marriages, it's a new beginning. It's a new beginning. So, we have one person who is not with us today because she is traveling, and we will just give her a private installing, and that is our dear practitioner, Reverend Penny Shaw. So let's all clap for Penny. And I know you're having a great time, Penny. I know you're having a great time. Okay, so Mary, here is a certificate, and there's a little envelope we'd like you to open when you, later. Okay, that is your certificate. Dr. Travis, and I need yours back because there's been a misprint on your certificate, so at least you have your certificate right now. And Martine. Oh, and okay, so I'll fix that too. It'll all be fixed. And in the mind of God, we know it's perfect. That's right. So as a testament and seal upon this sacred vow, I ask, you're already forward, but I ask you to do is to speak a word or quality of spirit that you bring to this community. And I ask that you who are witnesses openly receive and embrace the gift of these qualities of spirit. So if you could at least say a quality or two.
Quality of spirit.
Yeah, that you are. What do you bring to this community,
What do
Mary?
I bring? I bring my background in the Greek Orthodox faith. That there are aspects of that religion that can blend in with this also. And I also bring friendship and love and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
That's what I bring in. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making it. Dr. Travis.
Optimism. You know, I'm always, I always know that there's, you know, always greener pastures. You know, I always know that. You know, no matter what the condition may look like or appear now, it's you know, the conditions will always be.
We always see that spiritual truth. That's right. Yes. And Martine.
I bring the qualities of talent and creativity, divine talent and creativity, and I commit to being an expression of wealth and abundance for my brothers and sisters in this community, and that we prosper in all the ways, each and every one of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, so as one of your spiritual leaders, and on behalf of the Leadership Council, the practitioners, and congregation of this center, I gratefully and lovingly receive each one of you into full membership in this spiritual community. I say blessings and welcome home.
And just so that